created live on Fireside.
Hi.
Hello. What a day today is.
Today is such a great day. Well, happy Chris and Amanda Day. Amanda.
Happy Chris and Amanda Day. Chris. And hello to our sweet and good, very good friend Randall in the audience.
Hey, Randall. Thanks for joining us.
Yay!
Appreciate you spending some time with us today. I know there's a lot going on. Great news is there's a lot happening on Fireside, like right now. Like there's a lot of like this minute. Like it's so great to come on the app and see like all these awesome shows happening. And
absolutely. Well, it sat, in that beta testing for so long, like what we were a part of. And so there wasn't always something going on. So it is so fun to come into the app and see, several rooms going on and being hosted by our friends, our Fireside friends.
I know. It's so great. I'm so happy to see that. It's so nice. I love it. It's exactly like you said, it was in beta for so long. And then, Fallon had her awesome keynote that, Mark Sullivan was on. He was able to record, he was there like live and we got to hear it. It was so cool hearing it. So I felt it's like such a proud Firesider that
I
that
agree.
day.
And if anyone wants a quick way to find that particular link to that, I'm sure it's in other parts of the interweb, but if you click on either Chris or myself's profile, it'll probably show in our recent chats that we participated in, and then just follow that little link and it'll get you there. It was fantastic. A lot of fun things were said and a lot of announcements were made. So I'm just really excited for the future of Fireside. And I mean, I think you and I both knew from the beginning we were a believer in it. And so it's just fun to see it, now that we're so many episodes in. Here we are.
I know. We're 15 episodes in.
15 episodes. We're almost at the 4-month anniversary.
That's unbelievable.
We're past the quarter of a year. Now we're going on to the third of a year. It's just so impressive. So well done, Chris.
Thank you. Well done, Amanda Sharp.
Thanks. And Randall has been there with us since the beginning. So thank you, Randall.
Yes, absolutely, Randall. Really appreciate you and helping us out and just being such a supporter of the show and a good friend. So thank you for all that. Really appreciate you.
Agreed.
Yes. So welcome to today's special edition of the show. We had originally planned on doing this last Wednesday, but I took ill. And so unfortunately, we wound up not being able to do a show Wednesday, but it all worked out because now here we are on Chris and Amanda Monday, and we're doing the show on Monday, and we wanted to do something special. Once again, we've talked about this from day one. Like, while we have the normal format of the show, we do want to break it up and do some special things. And from early on, one of the special shows that we talked about, I think from day one, when we made a list of what other cool shows could we do, we were both unanimous on this one for sure. And we were like, we absolutely have to be doing a Beatles show at some point.
And, I don't think we expected it to take this spin.
No,
that we're doing. We're not just choosing and then rating the Beatles songs.
Yeah.
We chose our top 5 a piece. And we're just going to kind of have a dialogue about that because there's no other way to rate a Beatles song than basically 5 records most of the time. Right?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely so true. I mean, I think at this point, and we were just talking about this off air, was you're either a Beatles fan or you're not.
Right.
I don't think there's a real in between because you have Beatles fans. I feel like Beatles fans fall into some different categories, right? You have fans who are like, hey, I like, and believe me, the Beatles have unlimited amount of singles. But when they did the Beatles 1 record a bunch of years ago, it's you have fans who are just they love those, the hits, the hits of the Beatles, which is a lot already. Then you've got the Beatles fans that go, deeper. They listen to full records and there's songs off those records. And so they're a full on Beatles fan. Then you have the obsessed Beatles fans who really go super deep and they listen to this demo version and the sessions and they're avid collectors of tons of Beatles memorabilia. So you have the real hardcore Beatles fans.
Yeah.
And then you just have people who just don't dig the Beatles. So I feel like those are like the different categories of Beatles fans.
And I'm not the one to collect the stuff. I did do that really heavily with my Elvis. I think
Right.
we know that. And I've even since, toned that down a lot. But I've never bought anything Beatles, but boy, do I appreciate their music. And kind of just the story behind the whole package, from beginning to end and where they are now.
Yeah, it's unreal. And just think about, you think about the enduring legacy that this band left, like, and still leaves. I mean, it's going. I don't.
Yeah.
It's like, 50 years now since.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because the Beatles, haven't been the Beatles in decades. Right.
And they don't. It just keeps finding, like, their music just keeps finding new generations of fans, of people, and for me, like, my entry point to the Beatles was my parents, and I think that's probably for anybody of our generation is our parents, and like that's what I grew up on. So my house was always filled with music, and like it was always based on the classic rock stuff and just everything that you hear. But the Beatles were such a huge part of my childhood growing up because it's what my parents listened to. And I remember like being really young and kind of like I was super young, and I was like, I like Kiss, not the Beatles. And then, as I started getting, I learned to like really appreciate the Beatles as I grew up, because it was just what I was around. But I'm like, oh, it's what my parents listen to. I'm not digging what my parents listen to. I want to listen to Kiss. Like, but as I got a little bit older, like I really got into the Beatles, and I really learned to appreciate. And the older and older you get, the more and more you appreciate like the musical legacy that this band has left behind, and just keeps going and growing. It's unreal.
And I just realized I did not fact check all of my songs were actually like the entire group of Beatles.
Oh, so you may have solo. You may have solo songs in there.
This is interesting.
Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, once a Beatle, always a Beatle. So
well, there's true like that. I mean, that's
lump
true.
them in there. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Uh-oh. Well, we'll see. Yeah. So, disclaimer, Amanda and I have not shown each other our lists at all. We have no idea what we're picking for our time. I mean, I know what I'm picking, but I haven't seen Amanda's list. She hasn't seen mine. So this will be really interesting to see if any of the songs we pick are on each other's lists at all. And because I don't know, this has been something I've been thinking about. And by the way, I mean, I told Amanda, like right before we got on, about a half an hour before we started the show, I was still altering my list. Yeah. I've crossed out my list so many times. It's unreal.
It's so true, because there's just so many good songs. And now I'm panicking. I don't want anyone to think I'm an idiot. It's just, I guess we're gonna learn.
Well, I don't think anybody thinks you're an idiot at all.
Well, that didn't even cross my mind when I was just choosing my songs, because when I hear certain voices, I just bracket right into the Beatles. So again, we'll see. Yes. I mean, this is what this show is about.
That is what this show is about, is our differences in our tastes. But what we do agree on is that we both really enjoy the Beatles. We love the Beatles. And there are some other things that we enjoy together. As much as we talk about being opposite, which is usually the theme of the show, is that we're opposites when it comes to music. But we do have some shared music tastes for sure. This being one of them. So the normal format of the show is that we'll rate a song. We rate our songs on 1 to 5 records, and Amanda and I usually pick 3 songs each for each other to rate and review. So I put the list together, and she puts a list together, and then we share our lists, and then we give each other reviews and ratings based on those songs. And our lists are always wildly different from one another. This week in particular, though, we're taking a pause from that normal format and just creating our top 5 lists of Beatles songs that we enjoy. So we're not rating these songs. We're just going to be talking about why they are on our top 5 lists. Of course, we could probably make this list go on and on and on, but we don't want this to be a 24-hour show. So we do try to keep the show to 1 hour. So we limited it to 5, and we will definitely try to move along our lists as we can. Of course, this is Fireside, and this is live audience participation. So feel free to share what you think about our picks, or we want to hear your own picks. So you can put them in the chat, or you can come up as we go along. That is what we love to do. We love to interact with everybody. So, and I know, if you're a Beatles fan, I'm sure you've got your picks as well.
I mean, I am ready to just jump.
All right, so let's just go.
Chomping out the bit.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our number 5, and then work our way up to our number 1.
Okay,
all right, so go ahead, Amanda.
You go first.
You want me to go first?
Yes,
all right.
Yes.
All right. So here it is.
It's
happening. Here we go. My number 5 Beatles song is "Helter Skelter," off of the White Album, released in 1968. And the reason why I picked this song as my number 5 song, and this has always been one of my top 5 Beatles songs, is I absolutely love this song. I love the way it feels. It's so different from anything the Beatles ever did. It is a just flat out bash like rocker song. It's like total garage rock, and I feel like this is truly
this makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like this is truly one of the first like punk rock like songs ever written. I mean, I feel like it started with the Beatles on this song in particular. I mean, I think about how many people have covered the song, how many people have been inspired by the song, and I just love it. It is a flat out like balls to the wall rocking Beatles song, and so different. And as I do, I always try to bring in some facts about the songs songfacts.com. So some cool stuff that I learned about this tune in particular was that Paul McCartney wanted to write the loudest, nastiest, sweatiest rock number we could. After reading a Pete Townsend interview describing a Who track, as the most raucous, I can't even say raucous, whatever, rock and roll, the dirtiest thing I've ever done. McCartney told Mojo magazine in 2008, "Just reading those lines fired my imagination. I thought, right, they've done what they think was the loudest and the dirtiest. We'll do what we think." I went to the studio and told the guys, "Look, I've got the song, but Pete said this, and I want to do it even dirtier." It was a great brief for the engineers, for everyone. Just as fuzzy, as dirty, as loud, and as filthy as you can get with it is where I want to go. I was happy to have Pete's quote get me there. The first version of this song was a 27-minute jam that was never released.
Stop it.
Yeah. During July 18th, 1968 sessions, the Beatles recorded this version, which was much slower and much more tame than the album version. Another recording from the same day was edited down to 4 minutes and 37 seconds for the Beatles Anthology, Volume 3. For the album version recorded September 9th, simultaneously takes 5 minutes of each were recorded, and the last one featured is on the official LP. Ringo played the drums so forcefully that his shout of "I've got blisters on me fingers" accompanies the musical fade out. Ringo explained what happened in the Miami Herald. On June 28, 2008, the track was actually very long, and we were just pounding it. It was a jam, really. It turned into, and at the end, the only way off the kit was, "Look at my fingers, they're bleeding. I just had to get up," and I decided to shout it. I think that's such a great story. And for everybody, what is Helter Skelter? What is it? What's the name? Well, it's named after the slide of a British amusement park. The first line is a joke about it. "When I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide where I stop and I turn and I go for a ride." So, all the myth and folklore and all the stuff about this song, it's literally about a slide at a British amusement park. Helter Skelter. So that is my number 5 song on my Beatles list.
Inspiration from all things.
Yes.
Including
amazing
amusement ride. That is fascinating. So that is the true definition of a jam session.
Yep, 27 minutes was the original version.
That they just loved what they were doing so much that they just did it for 27 minutes. To the point his fingers were hurt.
We're bleeding. It was the only way he could stop. He's like, "My fingers are bleeding. I'm done."
But that's kind of like how we feel about this show. It's like we have to have a cutoff time. Otherwise, we would just do it forever.
We absolutely would.
We would talk until we didn't have voices. Yeah,
our voices would be bleeding.
I'd be like, "Hey, Chris, and on to my number 1. There has to be a cutoff for us.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay. So
All
I can see how that makes your list.
Yep.
And again, keep in mind, I do believe all these are Beatles songs, but this could have been just like a solo thingamabob. But anyway, we're gonna work through them. All right. So my number 5 song is "Yesterday,"
Okay.
and I believe that's Beatles together. I'm just gonna assume. Let's just pretend everything I pick is actually like the whole band. Are you Google machining it right now to verify?
I am verifying, but I am
Okay.
100% sure that is a Beatles song.
That is a Beatles song. Like, I know they're like, it's
Yes.
Paul's gonna sing it for sure. Like, you know what I mean? But I go, ooh, that could have been like when they like went away or went apart. So "Yesterday," and I just love the words.
Mhm.
The tune's fantastic. It's really great. And I did a little research, not like Chris level research, but it's really like, I just wanted to know a little bit more about the songs that I feel, because we all know Amanda has her feelings when she's choosing her songs. And what I really liked the story about this was he came up with it in a dream and wrote it like right after, which I thought was very, very cool.
That is cool.
His instruments that he needed were there. I think it was his piano is what he used. And it came so easily for him. He thought he stole it. And
I
so
love
he
that.
asked around, like, has anyone heard this song? Like, he would like
Right.
play it for people to make sure. And it was kind of like one of those things, like, he's finally said, well, if no one claims it, it's mine. And
Right.
He went forward with it. And somebody like suggested that they bring in like a string quartet to add to it. And at first he was like, no. And then they brought it in, and I can't imagine that song without it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they would experiment a lot with a lot of like orchestrations and things like that. And there's different versions of these songs. Yeah.
Yes. And that's when you're looking at the song facts and stuff, like just to see the different times that they recorded it and what they finally stuck with. If someone is that, Beatle fan that really does listen to different renditions and all of that good stuff, oh my gosh, what a rabbit hole that would be, because they played around so much. And a lot of it was, they didn't think he was going to land on this record, and then it did. And then it became, number 1 or whatever the case may be. But I just love that was the little story behind the song that I just love. He dreamt it up, which is what Wildfire was last week.
Yep. Yes. It was a dream.
It was a dream. And so it just, I mean, Yesterday, it's just a good song.
It's a beautiful song. It's absolutely beautiful song. That song, I will say, is not on my list. But it's on a list of Beatles songs I love. What I'm saying? So it is a really beautiful song, and it's such a typical Paul song too, because you know how Paul is. He's just like the romantic, he's the silly romantic. It's just, I love.
And this is why I panicked a little bit, because this is what I realized when I was doing my list, and I'll do a spoiler alert. All of the songs I chose, I found out, were written by Paul.
Right.
And which led me to go, oh my gosh, maybe it was just when it was Paul. Paul by himself. I don't know. So there must be something about his brain that I'm similar to.
Well, I think everybody has a favorite Beatle, and I think, as you, spoiler alert on my list, as you begin to learn who my favorite Beatle is. I mean, I am so much a George Harrison fan. Sure. I mean, believe me, I think all these guys are massively, Jesus, it's unbelievable.
So talented.
But I think I tend to gravitate, I don't know, I guess I gravitate more towards George. I love George's stuff. And so my next song on my list was an interesting, I never really looked into it enough. But I learned something about the song when I went into it.
Let's hear it.
My number 4 pick, and I think that you're going to be like, wow, Chris, I didn't expect this to show up on your list, but
maybe it's on mine.
But so my number 4 Beatles song is "Happy Just to Dance with You" from A Hard Day's Night. I knew you were going to be surprised by that.
That's interesting. Not what I expected.
Nope, not at all. And I like, it's so crazy to think about how fast the Beatles evolved in like the span of like basically 8 years. Yeah. It's absolutely insane, their musical evolution. And I love all the eras of the Beatles. I really do. And I
agreed.
think oftentimes I think sometimes people forget the genius of the early records and how, and I know they got stuck into doing some standards, and as time went on, more of the McCartney Lennon stuff came out, and I love the early Beatles stuff too. I mean, just as much as I love the later. I love the melodies, the harmonies, the fun, just I just think it's great. And so this song for me, Happy Just to Dance with You, is just got that. It comes on, and I love the feel of the song, and it's just sort of like that. I don't know, that it's got that kind of a beat to it, and it just makes me feel so great. And I hear it, and I do. I just want to like bop her happy just to dance with you. And George sings the song, and so this was something I found out was John Lennon and Paul McCartney wrote this as a showcase song for George Harrison, because it was such a tremendous fight in the Beatles to get songs written. I mean, you've got all four of these guys are songwriters. I mean, and there's so much competition.
That's so remarkable too, to think about that much talent was in one group.
And obviously Lennon McCartney compositions always won out as the majority of the songs. And this is why when George Harrison's first record, All Things Must Pass, I mean, is like a musical explosion of songs he was like living with for years. And that's why I love that record so much. It's just all these songs. So I love that, they wrote this song as a showcase for George, because George, amazing musician, great singer, great guitar. I mean, everything. So he had at this point, he had only written one Beatles song, which was "Don't Bother Me." So at this point in that was the only song he had written so far for the Beatles. The Beatles, of course, performed this in the movie A Hard Day's Night, so that way they could give George Harrison some quality screen time in the film. And they recorded this on a Sunday, March 1st, 1964, in just 4 takes. I think that's just so cool. I love that they remarkable. Just banged it out. Like, let's go.
And think about that. Like, I really feel like when you just have such talent, oftentimes when I do something the first time, it's usually the best.
Right.
And then I try to re-record something, and I'm like, I should have just went with the first one.
Yeah, it's sort of like that, like sometimes the urgency or the feel, you got to get it out. So the first one has a different feel altogether than like the second, third, fourth, or however many takes. I mean, some people, and especially the Beatles became like studio perfectionists as time went on. But they were just so used to playing live so much that a lot of that stuff those early records to me sound that. And this speaks to George Martin too, being such an awesome producer, being able to capture like them in the studio, but still retain this like really like live quality to the band. So they still had that energy and fun that you would when you saw them perform live. So I think that was really, really cool. So yeah, my number 4 song.
Have energy. It's very interesting.
Happy Just to Dance with You. I love it.
Nice.
I'm gonna as soon as this is done, I gotta crank that song.
And hopefully some of our listeners will as well.
Yeah.
So my number 4 song is Can't Buy Me Love.
Oh, yeah. See, I love it. So you got an early song on there too.
So that's, and I didn't do like much research on this. I think it's pretty like standard. I do believe Paul wrote this one, if I'm remembering correctly. But it's just basically Money Can't Buy Happiness. And I just think that's so powerful.
Yeah.
And so I
think
love
so
that.
Too.
Did you fact check if Paul wrote it?
I am fact checking it right now.
I believe all of mine are Paul's.
I'm going on the song facts right now.
Songfacts.com. I thought I would have did this a little bit more, but I just have notes today. Like, that's impressive on its own.
I know, you have so many notes. Paul McCartney wrote this song.
Okay, there we go. So Can't Buy Happiness. I think that's just so true. And I just love it. It's the tune of it. Can't buy me love. It's good.
No, what's even funny though is I like the opening of this on Song Facts is Paul McCartney wrote the song. Despite rumors to the contrary, he claimed it was not a song about a prostitute. Rather, the song makes a simple yet profound statement of what matters most in life. The word love appeared in many Beatles lyrics, especially their early songs.
Boom. Well, I'm glad you cleared that up, Chris.
Yes,
In case
because
anybody
I know that you were confused whether or not the song
was
was about a prostitute or not.
absolutely. I really now I can sleep at night. It's all about being able to sleep at night. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. It's a happy song. Can't buy
Yeah.
you love.
Oh, it's great.
And there's a movie like that too. Is this song in the movie? I would assume.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I've never seen the movie, but I just know that there is
The
movie.
Beatles movie, or you mean just the movie Can't Buy Me Love? Because there is a movie called Can't Buy Me Love.
Yes. I wonder if that one. I wonder if they tied it. I have not seen it, but it would seem like they would have to work that in there somewhere.
I'm pretty sure they did.
I mean, they would have to. They would have to. So
Yeah.
that's my number 4 song.
Awesome.
It's good.
Awesome. Well, I like that. So far, I love our lists. I love our first 2 picks. What's everybody else think down there? Anybody else agreed or like what you're hearing so far? If you have your favorite Beatles songs you want to throw in a chat or let us know about, because everybody's got their Beatles songs. Who's your favorite Beatle? That's another good one too. Let us know who your favorite Beatle is.
Yes. I love it. So no booze so far. So
no booze. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're doing all right.
If we were rating them, maybe there'd be some booze,
well,
but no.
Well, I think we're agreed. Almost all Beatles. We're just universal. All Beatles 5 records.
5 records.
We're just
Absolutely.
5 records.
We're just putting it out there.
Except for Revolution number 9. That's not a 5 record song. That's just like a little.
Where's James when you need him? I feel like that's like him being really upset about Uptown Girl.
Oh no, Revolution number 9. It's just crazy studio nonsense.
I love it. So, Chris, we're to our number 3, and we're halfway through the show, which we're doing good. I was worried we weren't going to be on pace, and it'd be like a 2-hour show, but I think we're doing a good job. So
we're doing okay.
Your number 3 song.
So my number 3 song comes from the record Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and it is With a Little Help from My Friends. That is my number 3 song.
Spoiler alert, that's not on my list, but I like that one a lot.
This was a song that I thought could be on your list, but I was like, I feel like this song could be on your list too. But okay, no, I'm glad then this will be good because I'm then anxious to hear what your number 3 will be. But this, I just always have loved this song, and I know people make fun of Ringo a lot, but I think Ringo's great, and actually Ringo as a solo artist, I think had the most success out of all of them as a solo artist. And I think people often too don't know. I mean, I think anybody who follows the Beatles and knows the Beatles history and has watched documentaries and interviews and stuff, know that how important Ringo was to the success of the Beatles. Ringo, before joining the Beatles, was an extremely successful and respected studio or session drummer, and he played in all the big bands at the time, recorded with bands. He used to do commercials. He was very well known and super well connected in the music industry, so much so that if he pretty much hadn't joined the band, they would not be playing places like the Cavern Club and places like that where they weren't ever. They never played those places until Ringo got in the band. It's only because Ringo was in the band that they were like, oh, Ringo's in the band? Sure, we know Ringo. He's a great guy. He's great. We'll let you play our stage. Up until then, they had a hard time getting good gigs. So Ringo was the guy that, because he was in the band, they're like, oh, Ringo's in the band? Sure, you guys can play at these places. And so he was instrumental in getting them those bigger, high-profile gigs at the more well-known clubs where then they could reach a wider audience and all the cool places that they weren't allowed into beforehand. So, and I always love that I know Ringo never felt comfortable really singing and all that stuff, but I tend to like a lot of it. And I know they often give him the funny songs and things like that, but this is a song where I feel like it's just such a heartfelt song, and it's so fun to sing, and I love the lyrics to this song, and I really love it. It's something that always comes on and makes me think about it's so true. With all the little help from my friends, I get by with a little help from my friends. There's no way I would be anywhere I am today if it wasn't for the help of my friends, my friends and my family. So I feel like that this song is so synonymous with my life and like where I'm at and how I've continued to get, do things and collaborate and be creative. Like all those things would not have happened without the help from my friends. So that's why I really like the song. So a couple quick little facts is this was recorded obviously on Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And it was one of the very last songs that John Lennon and Paul McCartney sat down and wrote together in a true collaboration. They were at Paul's house messing around on a piano when they wrote this as a collaboration. So they wrote this, and of course they it was a Ringo song that they wrote for him. The cheering at the beginning was taken from a Beatles concert at the Hollywood Bowl. At this point, the Beatles weren't touring anymore, but they had that, the whole recording. So that was kind of interesting to know that.
Sure.
And it was the first line was originally, "What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and throw tomatoes at me?" Ringo didn't want to sing it, fearing that if they ever did it live, he would be pelted with tomatoes.
Fair. That's really fair.
Yeah. So they changed it because he was afraid he would actually get hit with tomatoes. Yeah, seriously. And so the Beatles finished recording this the night that they shot the cover for the famous Sgt. Pepper's album cover. Everybody knows the famous cover for that record. So they recorded this the night that they shot that. And I thought, I just thought that was really cool. So just some little facts about this song. And, I know everybody knows it's been covered. And, of course, the Joe Cocker version made so famous by him and, Woodstock. And it was the theme song to the Wonder Years. And
I was really going to ask, were you a Wonder Years watcher?
I was a Wonder Years watcher. Oh, absolutely. Love the Wonder Years. And I always love that they use this song for the opening. Mm-hmm. It fits so well. And I've always loved Joe Cocker's version of this song too, because I think he sings it with the emotion and the heart that the song was written in. I think he goes that, because of him and who he is and his soulful voice that he has. So I think he brings a whole that emotion to the song, his rendition. So anyway, that's my number 3 song with a little help from my friends.
I love it. So 2 things about it. We are actually in the process of finishing watching the Wonder Years.
Right.
Sometimes you just like to watch a show that you've already seen, but through adult eyes, and it is different as an adult to watch it. So that's fun. Kevin and Winnie Cooper.
Winnie Cooper forever.
forever. And then I'll always remember this song and think of you because you remember when you did your Rocket Live and all of us joined?
Yes.
Because the guests couldn't hop on, and so we all hopped on. Even Randall here in the audience did. And you shared like an image in your Instagram stories, and you put this song with it.
Yep, I did.
And I just will remember, always remember that song with that, because what a fun hour that was, 45 minutes or whatever it was.
It was amazing.
It just is that is a true testament of with a little help of our friends. You have to have those type of friends to make it in this world. So I love this song.
No, absolutely. I agree. And that's why I chose that song for that, because it was this is a great example of a little help from my friends.
With a little help, because that's sometimes all you need is just that little help.
That's it. That's it. Goes a long way.
So good. All right. So my number 3 song, I really struggled to put these in order, and I'm still not maybe 100% confident because I just think they're both fantastic. But for better or worse, I'm going to choose my number 3 is Blackbird.
Oh,
is that on your list?
It was originally on.
Was it?
It was originally in my top 5. Oh my God. It's in my top 10 though. Because like I said, I did a lot of shifting and so it's in my top 10. Blackbird's in my top 10.
It's such a good song. And so I did do gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Yes. It's just beautiful. And sometimes I know I feel the songs for a reason and I don't know why they speak to me. And it's interesting to see some of the reasons behind the writing of the song that it makes sense why maybe I love it so much. And because there's stories behind a lot of most of the songs. Yeah. And so the Blackbird song was written by Paul, and it was written basically for African Americans during all of the riots and stuff. you know, and the words, all your life you were waiting for this, you know, moment to arise was
Right.
specifically about an African-American girl. Like, this is your moment to arise and like change the future and all of that good stuff. And I didn't know any of that before I researched this
Right.
a little bit for the show. But when I did, I was like, oh my gosh, that just makes so much sense. It just is so beautiful. And when I just think the song, like just the words are fantastic, but the tune is just so amazing. And it just is so effortlessly sang.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like I don't want to hear like the belting songs. I just want to hear like almost like a ballad almost, but you know, not a ballad. And so for all those reasons, it's my number 3. But I struggled because that was almost my number 2.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, and I can see the struggle. I mean, for me, it was on my top 5, and I took it off, and I took it back on. I was so tweaking this because it is such a beautiful song. That song was actually, so at my wedding, my father-in-law and my father-in-law played guitar, and my sister-in-law sang it right before we did our vows. So, right before,
so sweet.
and because it was growing up, my father-in-law used to sing it and play it to my wife, Rachel. So they did it at the wedding.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I think it just speaks to like all people, you know, you're waiting for that moment to arise. So what a sweet song for a dad to sing to his daughter. That's so sweet.
Yep. Yeah. It was really nice. It was super. It was unexpected too. We didn't know they were going to do it. They just did it.
Didn't know?
No, it was like a total surprise. So it was great.
See, I mean, the only secret at my wedding was a tree fell and hit the preacher in the leg.
That means good luck.
Yeah, apparently so. It was like an artificial tree, and it was like in slow motion. It fell. Like, and you heard the gasp. There's an audible gasp if you watch the video. Like, it was slow motion. Everyone went, and it like hit the preacher's leg, and he just like kind of like kicked it off and kept going. And I'm laughing so hard at this point that I can't even get myself together. Like, shaking, I'm laughing so hard. Like, it's a wonder I wasn't snorting. And so he had to like go into like, he had to wing it at that moment and like come up with extra fluff until I got together enough to be able to say my vows.
So you pulled it together.
I mean, I wasn't upset about it. Like, I was just cracking up, but like, way to keep it light. So, yeah, that's, those are some stories about our weddings. More to come.
Oh, there's more stories to come.
So Chris, what is your number 2 pick? Oh,
here we are.
Serious.
Our top serious. 2. It got harder and harder as I got to like, this was so tough, man. So my number 2 Beatles song.
Oh my gosh.
Also from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, A Day in a Life.
Okay. Your songs are very much surprising me.
Yeah, I love this song. I feel like when we talk about like Beatles songs that are just crazy and like switch around, and musically, I think this song is just absolutely genius. I love that it's like pieced together different songs, and it changes tone, and then they've got experimentation with like orchestra. It's just crazy, and I love it, and it all works. Like, it's like, should this song work? It's so weird that it shouldn't, but it does, because it's the Beatles, and they just are masters of like piecemealing parts and like making it all like work. And it's like, there's the John part, and then there's the Paul part, and then there's like everybody, and then it's like just crazy. And I remember really breaking the song down in music class when I was in high school. I took music theory, and I think we must have spent like at least 3 classes, like just breaking the song down and analyzing it from songwriting, and then from the studio, like the actual recording of this song. And because the Beatles also, you know, with George Martin, like experimented so much with like the actual studio process and panning sounds back and forth, and just doing things like that nobody had done before. I mean, they invented studio processes and recordings that like nobody had ever done before that. And because they were like, well, screw it, let's just try it and see how it works. And that's, you know, they were just obsessed with doing that stuff. So, and on top of it just being like, once again, a song that just shouldn't work, like, but it does. So some stuff that I found out which, I just never really looked into. So this is why I like things like song facts and stuff. Yeah. So the beginning of the song was based on two stories John Lennon read in a Daily Mail newspaper. The Guinness heir, Tara Brown, dying when he smashed his Lotus into a parked car in an article by the UK Daily Express in 1967, which told of how a Blackburn road surveyor had counted 4,000 holes in a road of Blackburn and commented that the volume of material needed to fill them in there was enough to fill the Albert Hall. Lennon took some liberties with the Tara Brown story, and he changed it to he blew his mind out in the car. Speaking with GQ in 2018, Paul McCartney explained the song's origin. A Day in the Life was a song that John had started. He had the first verse, and this is often how it happened. One of us would have a little bit of an idea, and instead of sitting down and sweating it, we just bring it to the other one and kind of finish it together because you could ping pong. You'd get an idea. So we had the first verse. I read the news today, oh boy, and we sat in my music room in London and just started playing around with it. Got a second verse, and then what we got was going to lead into the middle. We kind of looked at each other. We knew we were being a little bit edgy where I'd like to turn you on, but we knew it would have that effect. I just think that's so cool. So it was basically those first two were from those two stories. The Tara Brown dying when he smashed his car into a parked van, and then the article, the Blackburn road surveyor, which I just think that's hilarious. The final chord, which I always love on this, like it's like that, dung, like that final chord, it just rings like, and you're like, oh my God, it's so great. The final chord was produced by all four Beatles and George Martin banging on three pianos simultaneously. As the sound diminished, the engineer boosted to faders. The resulting note lasts 42 seconds. The studio air conditioners could be heard toward the end as the faders were pushed to the limit of the recording limit.
That's fantastic.
And this is something too. So listening to this on the vinyl version, I just never. So being the last song on the album, the Beatles found an interesting way to close it out. After the final note, Lennon had producer George Martin dubbed in a high-pitched tone, which most humans can't hear, but drives dogs crazy. This was followed by a loop of incomprehensible studio noise, along with Paul singing "Never Could See Any Other Way," all spliced together. It was put there on vinyl. It was put there so vinyl copies would play this continuously in a run-out groove, sounding like something went horribly wrong with the record. So it just played this high-pitched noise like as a run-out groove. And then one of the last facts about this, just because there's so much more about this song. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, when you read about it's.
That's so fascinating.
The 41-piece orchestra that played on the song, the musicians were told to attend the session dressed formally. When they got there, they were presented with party novelties, false noses, party hats, gorilla paw gloves to wear, which made it clear that this wasn't going to be a typical session. The orchestra was then conducted by Paul McCartney, who told them to start with the lowest note on their instruments and gradually play to the highest.
That's fun.
That is fun.
And very random and weird.
Yeah, which the song is weird. So it's like, it's just such a, I love hearing all these little stories. Yeah, it's just so great.
I really love, like, our lists are very different, which is very, like, and I think that's why Beatles are so well loved, is because if there's not songs that are your favorite, there's something for everyone when you're listening to the Beatles, in my humble opinion. My humble opinion. Okay. So my number 2 song, yours are just so much more fun than mine.
What do you mean?
Mine are very I don't know. They're just different.
But this is what we were just talking about. I mean, the Beatles, like, everybody has their favorites and everybody has different stories and why there's certain Beatles songs that just resonate with them. And that's the great thing about the Beatles, is that you do. Like, it's just, they give you so much. Yeah.
So my number 2 song that was neck to neck with Blackbird is Hey Jude.
Oh, this was on my, originally in a top 5, moved down.
I love it. It's just a song that it's easy listening. I enjoy hearing it. I like the words. And I did do a little research on that. And Paul wrote it for John Lennon's son.
Yep, for Julian. I mean, not Julian. Julian.
When Lennon left his first wife for his next.
For Yoko.
Yes, Yoko. And the son, obviously, I think the son was like 5 or something like that when he wrote
young.
this song. Very, very young. And so eventually the guy realized that, or Paul told the guy that the song was about him, and he thought that was really cool. And apparently during that time frame, there was more pictures of Paul with his son than John with his son. Which is very interesting. So it says a lot about that, father-son relationship. But I just thought, like, how interesting that Paul would like look at just everything and process it out in the way of a song. And I do my weird painting sometimes. For anyone listening in the audience, I don't think I've ever talked about that. I paint, and it's sometimes just to get out feelings because I can't express it. So it's interesting that, he's talented enough to do a song instead of a weird painting.
That's where you get Amanda's dark side comes out in paintings.
Yes. Maybe one day we'll share them.
we'll have to have an Amanda art show.
Chris and Amanda go to the art museum. Yeah. Could you imagine? This one speaks to me. You go, Amanda, I don't see it. One day when the world opens back up and we can do these types of trips, that would be a riot. But for right now, here we are on Fireside. But I loved how he could it shows that he must really like have a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings that affected him enough to write a song about it. And I just love all the words, love the tune, love everything about it. So that is why it's my number 2 song.
So it was originally titled "Hey Jules," and he changed it. Yeah, which then he changed it to Jude,
which is so much better.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times too, like they wrote a lot of working songs and did a lot of like just made up like gibberish words to fill in. They had melody, but they didn't have the lyrics yet, which is like how like "Obla Di Obla Da" came about, which was like the gibberish to fill it in, and then they were like, well, this is actually like fun and catchy.
Yes, which is the song for Life Goes On.
Yes, it is.
I enjoyed that show as well.
Yes. No, Hey Jude is a great song. It really is. It's a good pick.
It's solid, right? It's
a very solid song.
I think a lot of mine are like those classic, like top, like number 1 type songs. And it's not that I don't enjoy the other ones. It's just, I feel like these ones I feel these ones so much. Because I have a Beatles Pandora station, if anyone's interested. It plays a very nice variety of songs.
Yes, it does. Well, we'll have to make our Beatles Spotify playlist.
Oh my gosh.
We'll put all these songs on there, and then we'll keep adding to it.
Absolutely. Randall
We'll keep adding
approves, because we'll have our Chris and Amanda show playlist. Then we have our Christmas one we cannot forget about. And then we'll add a Beatles one. Yes. Good plan. Good plan. Oh my gosh. We're already at number 1.
We're at our number 1 picks. So before we reveal our number 1 picks, how's everyone doing down there? You guys enjoying the show so far? You guys enjoying our picks?
Yay. Awesome. Nice. All
well,
right.
of course, we'd love to hear any of your picks. If you want to throw them in the chat, we'd love to hear them. And, of course, who's your favorite Beatle? Like, everybody has their favorite Beatle. And, like I said, mine is George Harrison, for sure. That is mine. And it looks like Paul McCartney is definitely Amanda's favorite.
Definitely so.
Yes. So I don't think it'll come as a shock to anybody with me saying this, that my number 1 Beatles song, and I'm going to say that this has been a number 1 Beatles song of mine for quite some time. It does sit on the list pretty consistently when I think about like my favorite Beatles song, and the one that I love. I mean, we were talking about this before, like so many amazing songs, so many things that come and go, and I think the Beatles are great because you can listen to different songs and they hit you at different times. And but this song for me has always stayed very consistent. One of my favorite Beatles songs of all time.
I cannot handle it. Jeez.
And here it is. So it should come as a shock to nobody that my number 1 favorite Beatles song is, of course, by the man, George Harrison himself. And it is "Here Comes the Sun."
Oh, that was my number 6 pick.
Wow, awesome.
It kept getting bounced.
Right. Okay.
So, I love that one.
Yeah.
Tell me all the reasons.
So so
it
lots of
feels
reasons.
good.
So this is of course written. It was on Abbey Road, released in 1969. Some cool facts about this record, about this song, and then I'll reveal why it's one of my favorite songs of all time. But George Harrison wrote this in Eric Clapton's garden using one of Clapton's acoustic guitars. When the Beatles manager Brian Epstein died in 1967, the band had to handle more of their accounting and business affairs, which Harrison hated. He wrote Here Comes the Sun after attending a round of business meetings. The song was inspired by the long winters in England, which Harrison thought went on forever. In the documentary, The Material World, Eric Clapton talked about writing the song with Harrison. It was one of those beautiful spring moments. I think it was April, when we were just walking around the garden with our guitars. I don't do that, This is what George brought to the situation. He was just a magical guy. We sat down at the bottom of the garden looking out, and the sun was shining. It was a beautiful morning, and he began to sing the opening lines, and I just watched this thing come to life. Yeah, and I love Tom Petty. I found this great quote that Tom Petty, who was Harrison's good friend, played with him in the Traveling Wilburys, said of the song in Rolling Stone, "No piece of music can make you feel better than this. It's such an optimistic song, and with that little bit of ache in it, that makes the happiness mean even more." When the Beatles' music was finally made available for download on iTunes in 2010, Here Comes the Sun was the top-selling song that first week. I hear this song and it absolutely when you talk about the feels, Amanda, this song hits me. It hits me right in the heart. It is I just feel like the song is just beautiful in every way. It's crafted. George's voice, this is where I talk about like why I like George. George's voice is just, he's got this quality to him. And I love what, Eric Clapton he said to him. He's like, he's just a magical guy. Like, I feel like that George Harrison was truly a magical soul, and the songs he wrote, the way he thought, and I love it. So it's the song. It's just, you hear it. Yeah. You feel instantly optimistic, and it just feels like a magical song. And that song for me takes on an even more of a special meaning, because this was the song. So when my first daughter was born, Rachel was my wife was in, she was in a long labor.
Oh, poor Rachel.
Very, very long labor. And I remember this, we were both so young, and we were definitely into we were all about playing music and putting headphones on Rachel's belly. And we used to play tons of Beatles songs on her belly and all kinds of other stuff. And so in the hospital, we had made at this time we had a radio with a tape deck in it. So it's like we just had a mixtape going. And I remember right after Jana was born and we were relaxing and all that, I put the cassette deck on. I didn't even know what, I hit play, and Here Comes the Sun came on, literally holy crap. So it was daughter born, Here Comes the Sun. It was just the most talking about magic. It was a magical moment for me. So that song is always going to be my number one song. Yes. That is my number one Beatles song. So that's why that's my number one song. Here Comes the Sun.
It's sweet. And it's just a good, it is a very optimistic type of song. It's good. It's good. And I don't know anyone who can't hear it start playing and not just go,
oh man, it's the best.
There's so much good to that. So, but what a sweet story with it.
Yep. That's why.
What a sweet story. Oh my gosh. So before, everyone, I just feel like everyone needs to heart that story, applaud that story. There we go.
Thank you.
So there was a couple of people's go-to. So Wendy's says Come Together is her Come Together. It was good.
Great.
Gosh, so good.
Over me.
Good. Yes. Don't do. So good.
It's such a great bass line.
So good. Well, great choice, Wendy. John says Across the Universe.
Oh, John. So that is in my top 10. And it was at my number 4. And like I said, I did put it on number 4. And then I always started thinking about Happy to Just Dance with You. It dropped down to number 6, but it's on my list, John. Great call.
It's safe to say if we would have did this last week, my list would have been different.
Yeah. Well, this is what happens. This is why it's hard with these lists.
It's so hard. And then Lily said Yellow Submarine.
Oh, yes, a Ringo song. See, we were talking about it. Like, we were talking about the Ringo songs, man. Ringo songs are fun. So fun.
So great choices. Thank you for putting those in the comments. That's fun to see everyone's
Yeah, I
choice.
love it.
Okay, so my number one, you had such a sweet story with your number one. Mine is so sad.
Oh, well, it's okay. It's fine.
Like, I don't have a sad story with it. Like, the song is kind of got a sad tone to it, but it's good.
Okay.
But it's good.
That's good. All right.
So my number one pick is Let It Be.
Great song.
Wonderful song. Yes, thank you. It's so good. It's kind of like the motto of my life. Like let it be, let it be. And so I watched, what is that show with, is it James Corbin? Where he drives around with the people? Is it car karaoke or whatever?
Carpool karaoke,
Yeah, thank you. And so I saw that, I don't know, whenever that debuted, I feel like it was a couple years ago. And Paul was on it. And he had said that song also was written from a dream. Mm-hmm. And his mom basically is, the Mary of the song.
Right.
And the quote is, it's going to be okay. Just let it be. And that's how the song, kind of came to be. And he lost his mom at 14. And I'm like, oh, he's 14. Like, it would be so sweet to think like if I croaked, that Owen would dream about me. Like, and that I would bring him peace. And so like this song, just because of that, I'm like, oh, a mother's love, it never ends, even in death. Like, I'm gonna cry because I'm so sad about it. It's so sad. I know. First time I've cried in this show. I've cried in a lot of other things, but first time in the Chris and Amanda show. But just because of the whole, like, I loved the song before, but then after I heard the story about it, I'm like, it's my favorite song until eternity. Because his mama came back. Like, his mom was the inspiration of that song, and it's just fabulous. So it's a great song that's really not that sad, but Amanda makes it sad because of the story behind it.
Well, it's not that you make it sad. It's just that it's the way you feel. I mean, I don't think that's, I think there's something kind of a little bit of like encouraging in that way of like, hey, you know what? Like, no matter what, like there'll be peace, like you could find peace and solace in things. And I think that's actually really cool. I think that this song too is like, it does have that reassurance of just like, hey, you know what? It's okay. Like, let it be. It's okay. Like, there's things you can control in life and there's things you just can't. And you just got to let it be. And I think that there's something that
words of wisdom. Let it be.
Exactly. I mean, it's just, it's the Beatles, the magic of the Beatles. Once again, like writing songs coming from places, being inspired from things like dreams and like what people have said and feelings and just, they took so much inspiration from so many. I mean, we were just talking about Here Comes the Sun, and it's basically written like George Harrison being like, I don't want to deal with these business meetings anymore, and and then also the fact of feeling like winter lasts forever in England, like it's Listen,
I'm from Michigan, I get it.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah, winters I feel like they're gonna last forever, but it's like as we went through each of these songs and like what we felt about them, and then some of the stories behind them, it's truly amazing. And it's just the right collection of, four, individuals coming together and just creating like beautiful music for like not a very long time together. I mean, we're talking about 8 years that, they were recording and producing music together, and that short time and what they've left behind in that is like, it's truly, and the fact that it just keeps going and living. And, and it's such a testament. I mean, there are only so many, I think, artists in the world that have left such an amazing, long lasting legacy with the things that they've created,
I mean, I'm just going to go out on a limb here.
Okay.
And say what I'm going to say.
Say what you're going to say, Amanda.
Last week, I referenced that we were kind of like the Monkees. That we were like not a real show that turned into a real show. Like,
right.
So we're pretty amazing, right? I might argue that we're very similar to the Beatles.
Whoa.
And that, like, they weren't together very long, and the collaboration that they did together was effortless and just really just came very easily. And I feel like that's very much like how we kind of began.
I will agree with the spirit of that because I
can't really quite get behind it, Amanda.
I can't quite say we're the Beatles, but what I do agree with is I feel like that in life you find people that are great, you collaborate and you create awesome stuff together, and I feel like I very much feel like that you and I found each other through the ether of things, and we started creating together, and it just feels like we've been doing it forever. Very fast. It just gelled. So, and here we are, 15 episodes in.
And here we are. And I mean, I know a lot of our listeners know this, but Chris and I haven't even known each other a year yet.
No, I think since what?
January.
I think January.
The beginning of January. So to think like that you've not always been in my life just doesn't even go into my brain. I feel like I've known you since birth. Like I just feel like that's just how, like, you've always been around. And so I feel like when certain people, like you said, get together, it's just so interesting that the collaboration and it just flows so easily. So, I mean, you might not be able to say we're like the Beatles, but you understand the spirit in which I'm referring to.
I do understand the spirit with which you're referring to.
Anyone else in the audience think we're like the Beatles besides Amanda?
It's okay, Amanda.
There we go. Lily and Randall and John agree.
Well, thank you so much. Oh, man.
Now we just need to find that person who can get us in those stages.
We need our Ringo.
Which, what a fun name.
Huh?
What a fun name.
Oh, yeah. What a great name. Ringo.
Like,
I mean, it's awesome. Ringo
Amanda.
Starr. Like, just awesome. Like, you sound like a rock star. Ringo Starr. Like, that's just instantly, so cool. Like, I love it. It's so cool.
It sounds great.
It's a great stage name. It's awesome.
It's almost as good as the Chris and Amanda show.
Oh, so great.
What a fun show this has been.
Oh my God. And I can't believe we kept it to an hour.
If there's anyone who's in the audience who has time or wants to, raise their hand and come on up to the stage and speak to what they thought about our list or want to share anything else, I know a lot of you put your favorites in there already, but we'd love to hear if you have time. We know a lot of people listen on lunches or during work, so we get that you can't always come up. But thank you everyone who's participated in the chat. It's so fun to see all of those comments and the hearts and the reactions. That's why I really love the Fireside platform. It really allows for that live audience participation, and it just is so fun to actually have that instant ability to know, like, if someone likes what they're hearing or not. We boos are okay too.
Reactions are reaction. It's okay.
Reactions are reactions. That's right.
So it's very democratic here on Fireside. It's okay.
Absolutely.
Your voices can be heard.
So next week we're at episode 16.
And
it's hard to believe we'll be back to our normal format of 3 songs apiece, and we'll go back to the rating scale. But from the time being, I mean, today, all 5 records, we'd say, right? Not one song is not worth.
No, I mean, like I said, if they think there's any song in the Beatles catalog that's not 5 records, it would be Revolution Number 9. That's my opinion, but that would be the only one. Thank you.
You still feel very strongly about that. I can respect that.
It's kind of like one of those, like, hey, let's just have fun and like throw this on there, and it's kind of like, this is really weird. This is like way weird, but that's okay. It's the Beatles. They can do whatever they want.
They can. Absolutely. So I guess a little bit of housekeeping. Let's just show everybody where we are. Of course, we're on IG as The Chris and Amanda Show. We're on Facebook as The Chris and Amanda Show. We are now, thanks to Chris, on YouTube as well. So you can see all the video versions of our obnoxious craziness. And today, me crying on YouTube if you prefer. And that's fine. Chris does a lot of hard work with the editing and stuff. So thank you, Chris, for doing that. So our listeners can also see the video version of that. Super fun. We have Patreon. So if you feel called to support us, because this isn't free for us to do. I mean, it is free on Fireside, but there's a lot of moving pieces behind the scenes that that we pay for to hopefully give you guys a great experience when you're on our show. So if you feel called to do that, check out the Chris and Amanda show on Patreon. And what am I forgetting?
I don't know. I think, well, obviously too, I mean, there is the link here in the fortune cookie, which will take you to all the links that Amanda was talking about. You can follow our lists on Spotify. We have our Chris and Amanda list that has all the songs that we've rated and reacted to since the start of the show, plus the Chris and Amanda holiday Christmas Spotify playlist we started, which goes along to that show. If you haven't, if this is your first time listening to our show, thank you very much for listening to us. I hope you guys enjoyed what you heard. You can always listen to all the replays of the show right here on Fireside. I think, yes, all the replays are under my account here, so you can listen to all those recordings of the audio versions. And like Amanda said, you can also watch all video versions of every episode that we've done over on the YouTube.
The YouTube. And we're always looking for sponsors. This is something new that we're adding. We feel like we've gotten our feet wet enough and have enough episodes under our belt to add some sponsors where they get some quality, momentum from the sponsorship, because we want to be fair to them. So if that's something you're interested, reach out to us through IG. Just send us a message. Both Chris and I have access to that. So we'll both be in the loop, and we welcome that if you want more information, because it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Oh, it's a ton of fun. And we're so happy to be creating here on Fireside. And if you're new to Fireside, welcome. There's tons of great content on this app. So many good shows. There's something for everybody. So make sure you explore, follow the different people in the audience here as they're all doing great shows as well. Get involved, listen, participate, and let's all support one another, because it is a really fun community here on Fireside. And just, I love it. I love the spirit of creativity for sure. So something for everyone.
Absolutely. And we are by no means professionals at this, but if anyone's just getting started and needs just to kind of bounce off some ideas off of us, we're also welcome to send us a message for that too. And we'll kind of get you moving, because like we said, we're almost on episode 16. So we have quite a few weeks under our belt, and we want to encourage as many people to create because we love it so much.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we want to thank you guys so much for listening to our Beatles show here, our top 5 lists. We will of course be posting our picks. If you are just joining us or joined a little bit late, the replay will be available to listen to immediately after we sign off here. So you'll be able to access that recording, and we'll be sure to share that out with everyone so you can check it out. We'll be posting our song choices on our social accounts, and we will make a Spotify playlist out of our picks, plus the other picks that didn't make our top 5 list. They'll also be on that playlist as well. And, I'm sure everybody who mentioned their little picks, I'm 100% sure those are going to be on there as well. So if you're listening for a Beatles list of curated music by Chris and Amanda, you definitely want to check that out. We'll be posting that soon.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. It's been so much fun, and I have a fly on my head. Again, go to YouTube if you want to see that.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thank you all so much for listening to the Chris and Amanda show and watching us on YouTube when it gets posted. And we'll see you guys around Fireside, and we will see you here next Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and anywhere else in the world, those different time zones. We hope you join us. All right. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Bye.